Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into the global race to regulate artificial intelligence. Seriously, from Washington to Brussels to Beijing, governments are scrambling to write the rulebook for a technology that is changing our world faster than anything we've ever seen before.
You know, this quote just absolutely nails it. It gets to the very heart of the AI debate. The tech itself, it's just a tool, right? A really powerful tool. What actually matters, and what we're going to unpack today, are the rules, the values that we decide to build around it. It all comes down to our choices.
So, first up, the AI regulatory race. We're going to look at why governments are all of a sudden in such a massive hurry. This is a race not just against each other, but against the sheer speed of technology itself. At the very center of all this is something called the pacing problem. Think of it like this. Technology is on a rocket ship, thanks to things like Moore's Law. It's getting exponentially faster and more powerful. But our laws are taking the stairs, one slow, deliberate step at a time. That huge gap between the rocket ship and the staircase, that's where all the tension and, frankly, all the danger lies.
And believe me, this is not a slow race. Just look at this timeline. You go from over 1,000 tech leaders begging for a 6-month pause, to the European Union finalizing the world's first major AI law, to California passing a landmark bill of its own. All of that happened in just over a year. It feels a lot like climate policy, but playing out in fast forward. We just don't have decades to get this right.
So how's the world actually responding to this? Well, if you're hoping for a single, global consensus, you're going to be disappointed. Instead, what we're seeing are three dominant and competing models pop up, and each one is built on a totally different philosophy about how technology and society should mix.
This table really breaks it down perfectly. You've got the American innovation first model, which is basically, let's make sure we don't slow down the progress. Then you have the European rights-first model, which puts protecting people and their fundamental rights at the absolute center. And then there's the Chinese state control model, where the #1 goal is ensuring AI serves the government's objectives for social stability. Three completely different starting blocks.
Okay, so digging into the American model. Well, at the federal level, there's kind of nothing. Just gridlock. So the states have had to jump into that vacuum. What you get is this really messy but dynamic patchwork of different rules. And since so many of the big AI companies are in California, whatever law they pass often becomes the unofficial standard for the rest of the country.
Now, Europe has gone in the total opposite direction. They've built one single, massive rulebook for the entire continent, the EU AI Act. It's pretty clever, actually. It sorts AI based on risk. Things they deem unacceptable, like government social scoring, they're just banned outright. Then you have high-risk stuff, like using AI in hiring, which gets hit with a ton of regulations. This is the famous Brussels effect. If you want to sell your AI product in Europe, you have to play by their rules, no matter where your company is based.
And then you have China's approach. It's a completely different playbook. Everything is centralized, top-down, and powerful. The main goal is to make sure AI technology promotes social stability and aligns with the state's values. For example, companies actually have to register their algorithms with the government, which gives the state an incredible amount of insight and control.
Okay, I know, all this talk of different rulebooks can feel a little abstract. So what does it actually mean for you and me in our daily lives? Let's take a real-world example to make this concrete: facial recognition. Just ask yourself this simple question. What happens when you walk into a retail store that's using real-time facial recognition to identify you? What are your rights? Well, the answer completely 100% depends on where that store is located on the map. In the US, it's a legal Wild West. There's no federal law, so your rights can literally change just by crossing a state line. In Illinois, they've got a super strict law that requires your consent. In other states, maybe not so much. But in the EU, that technology is automatically considered high risk. It is heavily restricted to protect your fundamental rights. And in China, well, it's a completely different reality again. That technology is everywhere, and it's often plugged directly into public security systems, even the social credit system. So, get this. One technology, facial recognition, creates three vastly different realities for the exact same person just trying to walk into a store. But hey, not every country is just picking one of those big three models. Some are actually trying to carve out a middle path, mixing and matching ideas to create their own unique approach. Let's take a look at how they're doing it.
This is a perfect illustration. You've got a country like Canada, which is borrowing Europe's risk-based idea but adapting it for North America. On the other hand, you have Japan, which is trying something they call agile governance. They're avoiding a single giant law and instead using guidelines and creating these experimental sandboxes to learn and adapt the rules as the tech evolves.
So this brings us to the most important question of all. Beyond all the legal details and the geopolitics, why does this regulatory race actually matter to you?
Because the outcome of this race, it's not just about code. It's not about compliance checklists for some giant corporation. It's about writing the fundamental rules that are going to govern all of our digital lives.
Sure, it's about shaping an industry that's projected to be worth nearly $2 trillion. But honestly, it's so much more important than that. It's about defining the operating system for our future, and it's going to impact everything, from the economy to our most basic human rights.
The blueprint that wins, whether it's America's, Europe's, China's, or some hybrid, is going to influence every single one of these things. It's going to define your rights as a consumer. It's going to shape the future of privacy. It's going to affect economic competition, global security, maybe even the future of democracy itself.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. The real question we should be asking isn't the passive one, what will AI do to us? The real active question is, what rules are we going to choose to build around AI? Because the frameworks being built right now in this incredibly fast-paced, high-stakes race are going to steer this powerful technology for generations to come.